This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark News.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. Well, this week here at North American Broadcasting, we held our annual Christmas in July, where we have people drop by new toys for Nationwide Children's Hospital and the kids there. And so with us here today is the Child Life Manager from Nationwide Children's Hospital, McHugh Fornadel. And thanks so much for being here.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
First of all, talk a little bit about Child Life Manager. What is it that you do there at Children's Hospital?
Yeah, so I manage our Child Life program, which consists of a couple of different specialties that are within it. So the biggest part of my team are our child life specialists, which most people, if you haven't been in a pediatric hospital, haven't heard of my profession. What we do, we're developmental experts who focus on helping kids and families cope with healthcare experiences, and that can look a variety of ways. So when kids are having procedures, we provide distraction to help them cope with things that are either painful or scary. We provide education about diagnoses in a way that kids can understand. We prepare them for things like surgery or different tests that they're having. We help kids learn how to swallow pills. So just a really wide variety of things that we really help with that healthcare experience. We also have coordinators for creative engagement, and they help with facilitating play in patients' rooms and in group events. In fact, yesterday, we celebrated the National Day of Play, and we had a really big patient event that was a successful thing. It's great to watch the kids and families come in and just have the smiles on their face and be able to engage in play and have that family time together. We also have a gaming technology specialist, which is also another unique position. He gets to use technology to help kids cope. So video games are hugely popular. He has a machine called a Mobi, which is basically this projector that flies onto the floor, and kids can interact with that in lots of different ways, game tables, VR, so lots of things like that. And then I also have a resource coordinator, and she actually helps maintain our playroom. So all of our toys in our playrooms have to be washed before kids can play with them again. Yeah. So that's a really huge job, and she makes a huge difference for us in helping to maintain those playrooms.
Yeah, you know, when you stop and think about it, it's traumatic enough for an adult to go into the hospital, but they can understand. You can explain to them what's happening and why this is happening to them. Tougher with a child, so you need to use other strategies.
Absolutely. And, depending on their developmental level, kids can have a lot of misconceptions, and they don't always verbalize that. So, for example, a preschool age child, really going to think that everyone believes the same thing that they believe, or that they have magical thinking. So, for example, one time that I was supporting a child in radiology, and we got done with the procedure, and the child said, is this when the monster comes out? And it's because the machines look scary and unfamiliar to kids, so it really makes a big difference.
Where does the public come in to help out what you do?
Yeah, actually, we would not be able to do our programming without the public and donations. So we use donated toys to stock all of our playrooms, as well as to use resources that we use therapeutically with kids. So basically, every toy in our 13 playrooms come from donations. And as you can imagine, those toys need to be replaced and renewed, and keeping things fresh for kids. We have kids that come multiple times to the same hospital, same patient room, same floor, and it's really important to have that. And then we also have a sibling clubhouse that is actually a special place just for brothers and sisters to come, and we also use toys in that area as well.
McHugh Fornadel is here with us. She is the Child Life Manager at Nationwide Children's Hospital. And as we mentioned, this week we had our Christmas in July where folks dropped off new toys. So if somebody wants to help and maybe they want to help replenish some of the toys, are there things that you need, and are there things that you want to stay away from?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. That makes a big difference for us. So I'm going to first preface, we have a wish list, and our wish list we keep up to date because our needs can change throughout the year with what we're needing. So on our hospital website, if they search wish list under patient play, that's the wish list that we use to stock our playrooms. Right now, things that we're needing would be Legos. Legos are huge with kids and hugely possible. We go through those pretty quickly. Teen things are really important too. So like some teen crafts, teen books, things like that are really important. And then toddler toys, in particular, ones that are all plastic and washable because we have a really large population of kids that age group. So those are all things that right now that we're really in high demand.
So many things about you hear about Nationwide Children's Hospital, just on the cutting edge, it seems, of everything. And it sounds like when it comes to managing a child's life when they're there and their emotions and everything, you guys are right there on the edge of that too.
Absolutely, because really managing the whole child and their family is so important. So, that's something that really makes me proud to have my job. I've been there for 23 years and still love going there every day and watching to make a difference, a positive impact in the life of a patient and a family.
Attitude has so much to do as well with getting better.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the parents, what role do they play in all of this? Do they accompany their kids to these playrooms, or how does that work out?
It could be both. It could be that our staff members are taking the patient to the playroom or parents are coming. It's great when parents are able to engage and play as well, to be able to see their child as their child and not as a patient or not as like the stress that they're being there for. So it's really important, as well as getting the siblings involved in play. A lot of times the siblings aren't able to be with their parents as much if the parents here with the child in the hospital. So having some time that they're able to spend time together as a family makes a huge impact for really the entire family unit.
Karen McHugh Fornadel is here, the Child Life Manager from Nationwide Children's Hospital. As we wrap up, tell us again how people can get involved.
Absolutely. So if you go to our hospital website, www.nationwidechildrens.org, and search wish list with patient play, you would be able to really make a big difference in not only in the way that my team provides services, but the life of every child that comes there.
And I'm sure you probably also take cash donations.
We certainly do. And actually the link is also on that same page on the website.
And that way you can pick exactly what you need.
Absolutely. And actually, we do use that quite a bit. We have some specialized services that we need for kids that we don't have on the wish list that are pretty unique. So that provides us an opportunity to buy those things throughout the year that we need to be able to provide services.
Karen McHugh Fornadel from Nationwide Children's Hospital, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for everything you do.
Thank you for having me.
Our other topic on the program this morning, we're going to take a look at problem gambling in Ohio. Our guest on the program today is the Executive Director of the Problem Gambling Network of Ohio, Derek Longmire. And Derek, you've been on the show before, and I want to thank you for stopping by again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
So, for those who don't know what the Problem Gambling Network of Ohio is, it's pretty self-explanatory in the name, but tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and how you go about doing it.
Well, we at Problem Gambling Network of Ohio want to make sure that help is available to all Ohioans that need it related to gambling. So we do that through training counselors and prevention professionals to make sure resources are available locally, working with our casinos, our racinos, and other gaming operators, as well as having strong partnerships with the state through Ohio for Responsible Gambling, which includes the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, the Ohio Casino Control Commission, and the Ohio Lottery Commission. And I like to say that Problem Gambling Network of Ohio, the network, is the most important part of our name because that's really our focus in making sure that we're bringing these people together to help all that are needed in Ohio.
Are you mandated by the government to be there, or are you just a private organization?
We are a 501c3 private organization. We are the Ohio affiliate to the National Council on Problem Gambling. So we are able to then learn from our 34 other state affiliates as well as the National Council, kind of see what national trends are, and then we can take those lessons learned and adapt them and change them for Ohio.
Talk a little bit about how you work with the casinos and the racinos and the sports betting outfits. Talk about that.
Sure. Our focus is to make sure that help is available at all levels. And by the time someone calls our office in need of gambling help, that means there's a lot of hands that they cross through in order to get to us. And that's a lot of missed opportunities. So we want to work with our gaming partners, our casinos, racinos, the sports books to make sure that their staff are trained to recognize some of those signs. We do that through mandatory training that they have to go through for new staff orientation, as well as an annual renewal, which typically happens in September. And right now is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. And we've been hosting property tours where we take our prevention and treatment staff to the casino and racino venues, meet with their responsible gaming staff on property, talk to the regulators, and really have a much better understanding of how the operations work, the regulations work, and how we can all work together and build that out with prevention and treatment as well.
Derek, how has legalizing sports gambling in Ohio changed the landscape for you?
It's changed exponentially. First, just looking at the call volume to the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline, in the first full year of legalized sports betting, that increased 55%. Now, not all of those calls are specifically, that increase in calls are specific to sports betting. What we see is a lot more visibility of either the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline, 800-589-9966, or the national helpline, 800-GAMBLER. And in Ohio, it doesn't matter which one you call, it's going to get you into the same place. So help is available, and by requiring the marketing, it's all marketing for sports betting to have that helpline number or one of those helpline numbers, that's really allowed greater access. And then certainly as we look to those individuals reaching out specifically to sports betting, now is kind of the time to do that. Before it was stigma and taboo, and now it's legalized and kind of out there in the open. So hopefully people feel more willing and able to reach out and get some support.
Well, it is time for March Madness. The big tournament's coming up, and I'm sure lots and lots of people will be betting on the games during the tournament. How do you know when enough is enough when it comes to sports betting?
For an individual, really it is just recognizing or asking yourself, is it still fun? And if it's not still fun, then that's a big warning sign that, hey, maybe you should look at this. As we look at the spreads and your odds of winning, they are not in your favor. So really focusing on entertainment. And if you get to the point where you're trying to make money or win back money, then those are some big warning signs to be aware of.
And if you have that, then what do you do?
Reach out to us. So again, the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline, 800-589-9966. We have individuals, specialists trained there, available 24/7 to really work through some of the challenges that individuals are experiencing. The big main reasons that people call are because they have either financial issues or they have relationship problems or both. So really figuring out what their goals are and aligning their goals with the resources that are available to them. Sometimes that can be counseling. Sometimes that can be connecting them with Gamblers Anonymous, looking at our Time Out Ohio program where they can self-exclude for 1 year, 5 years, or a lifetime. So there's a lot of avenues and resources available for those that need help. And it's important to note that help is available for the individual gambler as well as their family members as well.
How many people do you have working for you?
We have a staff of 9. So we do a lot with little.
Yeah. So that's folks taking calls and everything, right?
It's a combination. So the Problem Gambling Helpline is managed by the United Way of Greater Cleveland. Okay. So we have a strong partnership with them. The staff that we have in our office include our programming staff to help with the trainings for the prevention staff and clinicians throughout the state, as well as clinicians to really support the Ohio Gambling Telehealth Network. Unfortunately, about 2/3 of Ohio counties don't have access to someone qualified to treat gambling within their county. So that's where we fill in and help fill that gap. So individuals that reach out for help, if that is not available in their county, then through the Ohio Gambling Telehealth Network, then they can get the counseling support that they need.
Our guest on the program today is Derek Longmire, the Executive Director of Problem Gambling Network of Ohio. Again, website if people are interested in getting more information.
Visit us at pgnohio.org.
And you've given us a lot of information, but one that really sticks out, one piece of information that really sticks out to me is that a recent survey in Ohio found that problem gambling rates in Ohio have tripled in the last decade. That's amazing.
It is, as we look at really good benchmarking, and this goes back to 2012 and the initial survey before the casinos and racinos opened. And from then to now, in the last survey, and an important note with that last survey, it was before sports betting was legalized. So those surveys were done right at 12:59 p.m. or 11:59 p.m. before January 1st turned over for sports betting. And we saw a tripling of the rates for at-risk as well as problem gambling. So certainly that's a concern. We know that the more opportunities there are to gamble in the state, more Ohioans will, and we saw that kind of throughout those surveys. We also saw that the more opportunities there are to gamble, more Ohioans will be at risk, and then more Ohioans will develop the criteria for a gambling disorder. And that's really an important part of wherever you're at in needing help. getting it as soon as possible is critical.
We were talking about some big numbers before the show started, and nearly $7 billion Ohioans bet on sports during the first year of sports gambling, so all during 2023. Where'd that money come from? Where did it go?
Wow.
And what wasn't it spent on?
Yes, that is the question. Where did it come from? It came from hopefully people's discretionary spending and their entertainment dollars. But from the increase in calls that we have, we know that that's not been the case for all. So really recognizing that this should be focused on entertainment, as I've said. And if you get to a point where you're spending your rent money, then that's going to be a problem. So really being mindful of that. And almost $7 billion with a B. That is a huge number and much greater number than certainly we predicted. And looking at the state and their estimates, it surpassed that as well. So really thinking about Ohioans really, really love sports, love to bet on sports. That was clear kind of as sports betting was coming along and through the legislation. But those consumer protections are equally important. And those limit-setting features that are available through those apps are critical for individuals to engage in.
You know, I guess a lot of stereotypes, and one is that sports bettors are all men, but that's not the case, is it?
Well, they're not all men. They're more proportionately men than women, certainly. But we know that betting problems impact everyone. As we look at the 2022 survey, it was pretty evenly split between men and women for those that were developing a problem. Now, specifically to sports betting, again, that tended to be more male, more 18 to 44-year-old, or more specifically 18 to 25-year-old males, which is another important piece to note because legal sports betting doesn't happen until 21. So we have individuals that have problems at 18, 19, 20 before they're even of legal age to engage.
So one of the big differences about sports betting is just it's so accessible. All you need is your phone. You don't have to go to a casino. You don't have to sit down at a table. You don't have to sit down at the slot machine. So the accessibility, I think, has really made it explode.
Accessibility on multiple fronts. So as you mentioned, the mobile element, but also we have 20 different mobile applications or sports books that you can download onto your phone. So that is exponentially greater than whatever access was before. Just looking at our casinos, we have 4 casinos in the state that have slot machines and table games, 7 racinos that have racetracks and video lottery terminals, which are essentially slot machines. So you have a net of 11 properties that you have to physically go to, compared to sports betting where you've got 20 plus mobile sites and you can do it from the palm of your hand wherever you are, whenever you want.
Even at the game.
Even at the game. And Wi-Fi's gotten a lot better in stadiums just because of that.
Yeah. Derek Longmire is here, the Executive Director of Problem Gambling Network of Ohio. And I know there are a number of resources just besides you where people can get information. And first of all, let's start with the pause before you play. You talked a little bit about that. How does that work?
Pause before you play is as simple as it sounds. That before you take that first bet or that next bet, take a moment and pause, really do your homework and figure out, are these odds what I want them to be? Am I setting the limits that I need? For limit setting, that would be limits of time as well as money. And just really making sure that you're doing your due diligence before you place that bet. Once you've done so, we know that the majority of Ohioans that bet on sports don't have a problem, and we recognize that Ohioans really like to bet on sports. So we are not really here for those people. We're here for those that need help with their limit setting, as well as those that will move down kind of the continuum and develop warning signs of needing gambling support or meet the criteria for disordered gambling. But for Pause Before You Play website, pausebeforeyouplay.org, there's a great quiz that you can take there. It's a 9-question quiz that takes just a few minutes just to really assess your relationship with gambling and see kind of how you rate.
Obviously, the folks who run the gambling sites when it comes to sports betting and those who run the casinos, what are their responsibilities in all of this?
They have a lot of responsibility and a lot of regulation. So as we look at kind of the rules that go into sports betting, they are pretty thorough. We worked closely with the Casino Control Commission throughout the rulemaking process and ensuring that those consumer protections and guardrails were really built in. So through the statewide voluntary exclusion program, Time Out Ohio, that system, which I talked about earlier, where you can exclude for 1 year, 5 year, or a lifetime, is available for all sports books as well as the casino and racino property. So when you exclude from one, then you exclude from all. And this is a really unique program. Historically within Ohio, we had kind of starting out with the casinos were connected where you would exclude from the 4 casinos, but each racino property was different. And we see that commonly within other states. As we looked at sports betting through the partnership with Ohio for Responsible Gambling, Casino Control Commission and Lotteries Commissions worked really well together to harmonize their voluntary exclusion program to then include one program for all. So you self-exclude for casino, for racino, as well as sports betting, both sports books and through the mobile apps.
I know that when those rules were put together, one of the major goals was to make sure that people under the age of 21 didn't have access to betting. From what I heard you say earlier, that may not exactly be the case. So how bad is that problem, and what do we do there?
It's one that we are trying to get a handle on. Certainly working with colleges and universities is an important element to that. As we look at the KYC or the Know Your Customer components, going back to the regulations for the sports books, they are pretty thorough in requiring that you have verification of yourself and that you're legally of age to participate. So as we look at those younger ages and engaging in problematic sports betting, those are more likely going to be with friends and other family members, not likely to be with our brick and mortar sports books, at least those within the casino racino properties or through the mobile apps. Although if you get a friend that's of age that can kind of set up the account for you, then certainly that's an avenue as well.
Change the Game Ohio, tell me about that.
Change the Game Ohio is our program focused for those that are not of legal age to engage in gambling. And the focus there is to really unlock the reality of youth gaming and gambling. As we look at gaming for young people, there's a lot of gambling elements within that, and some just have straight up casinos built into their games. So really raising awareness to those young people, as well as the educators that they engage with and their parents, so that we kind of all work from the same page and playbook, and recognizing that young people know a lot more than we do about what they're doing. So the more we can educate everybody, especially about some of the harms associated with gaming and gambling that may seem not nonplussed. You go in and like, okay, well, I need 99 cents for this extra thing, and it might be hooked up to the credit card, and the parent might not even recognize, but those 99 cents can certainly add up, and then you can kind of hit yourself with a pretty big bill without recognizing it. And that's just all part of having those conversations with your young people, understanding the games that they're playing, as well as what's in those games.
And they're sort of being conditioned to get ready for the real thing.
They certainly are, and we see that through the video games that we have, especially with the casino elements within them, but even through like loot boxes, which is for the 99 cents, you can buy the chance to win a special something. And the somethings are not real. It could be an outfit or a skin for your gun or something along those lines. So they're not physical things that you win, but there's something of value to those young people, and that has the same level of excitement that gambling can have.
One of the resources I see here in the literature that I have is maryhaven.com. What is that about?
We work with treatment providers throughout Ohio, and Mary Haven services the Central Ohio area. And Abdullah Mahmood, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, is the lead treatment provider for Mary Haven, the gambling program, and he used to work for us. So we work very well together with Mary Haven, and his predecessor serves on the board at PG&O. So we have strong collaborations throughout the state, and there's a wealth of resources available in Central Ohio through Mary Haven.
And tell me again, for the listeners, the phone number they can call if they think they may have a gambling problem or a family member has one.
You have two options. You can call the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline, 800-589-9966, or the national number, 800-GAMBLER, GAMBLER.
And the best website would be?
pausebeforeyouplay.org is a great place to start. We also have gamblinghelpohio.org that can provide some of those additional resources that you would find available through the helpline as well.
What are some of the interesting trends in gambling right now?
Certainly sports betting is a big trend that we're seeing, and there's a lot of excitement around it. Looking at odds shopping and downloading some of those different mobile sites and figuring out, okay, who's the best one. It was reported yesterday in the hearing that we're listening to that the average sports bettor has 2.5 mobile sites downloaded so they can compare those odds and figure out what the best bet is. And I think that's all part of the important elements of pause before you play. Certainly as we saw sports betting launch, and even now, there's a lot of advertising that says you can win these bonus bets and all these great, wonderful things with hardly any dollars spent. Well, all these companies are making money, and the profit margin is about 12%, which is double what it was before sports betting really took hold here in Ohio, and kind of goes back to the Vegas days. So they're making their money, and if it sounds like a deal that's too good to be true, it probably is.
I had a friend who once said he was very lucky at gambling because he never won anything. And but sometimes do you see that a big win can really trigger somebody's like almost an addiction?
Yes, it's certainly a big win at a young age, and that is one of those warning signs that we would look after. So those big wins, and that big win is really independent upon that person. So one thing that we focus on during the holiday season is not gifting lottery tickets to young people, because if you have that scratch-off ticket and you win $50 when you're 8 can be a huge win, and that can really set that little tone in your brain that you want to feel that excitement again. So really being focused on that big win, recognizing that if you have a family history of gambling problems, you're more likely to develop gambling problems yourself. And certainly there's strong correlation between substance use disorders, mental health disorders, and a gambling disorder. So just really being aware of what family history looks like, and recognizing if you have a propensity for addiction within your family, then the likelihood for a gambling disorder is higher as well.
We talked about the resources that are available. Are there enough?
Never enough, but hopefully enough for right now. And that's been a big focus leading up to launching sports betting. And as we move on from that, as I mentioned, 2/3 of Ohio counties don't have access to someone qualified to treat gambling, and that is certainly not enough. As we look at growing out that system and having the Ohio Gambling Telehealth Network available to support those service gaps, we're going to get there. I'm confident with the resources that we have in the state, the commitment from our state leaders, that we will have the supports that are necessary, especially as we look a year or two down the road when the need for sports betting assistance really ramps up.
Has there ever been any talk of setting individual limits on betting?
There is, but the limits are, I will say, ridiculous. So
Okay.
I think I can't remember what specifically the legislation is, but it's something like $2,500 for a month maybe. So the limits are very high that are kind of the state level limits. However, through the mobile apps, each individual person that downloads that app can set their own limits. And that's where it's really important to recognize, okay, what do my finances look like? How much can I really afford to bet? And then set those limits based on that.
And that's a look at problem gambling in Ohio. Of course, many more resources online if you or a loved one is having difficulty handling your gambling. And we'd also like to thank once again Karen McHugh Fornadel from Nationwide Children's Hospital, the Child Life Manager, for giving us some more information about how they use play and fun to help the kids cope with all that they're going through at the hospital. I'm Mark News. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
Meet Bob Manetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.